Chair recognizes the gentleman from Rockcastle for an explanation of the bill and the motion thereon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 135 seeks to establish the regulatory framework for the safe deployment and commercialization of autonomous vehicles on Kentucky roadways. Kentucky's motor vehicle statutes are currently silent on AVs, but we know this technology is needed and that it's coming. In fact, it's already here with driverless taxis operating in Arizona and trucks making limited freight runs in Texas. When the time is right for Kentucky businesses to utilize AVs as a part of their fleets, we want to make sure that the fundamentals of operating on our roadways are clear. This includes ensuring that vehicles must comply with all applicable traffic and safety laws, requiring that the vehicle meets or exceeds all federal motor vehicle safety standards, making sure that if for some reason a vehicle has a system failure or cannot fully perform driving tasks, that it must be able to pull itself off the road and achieve a minimum risk condition. Other requirements of the bill: before an AV is on the streets, the company must submit a law enforcement interaction plan to both the Transportation Cabinet and the Kentucky State Police so law enforcement knows what to do in the event that they engage with an AV. We bumped up the liability insurance to $1 million. We require the same accident reporting as if a human were driving, and the vehicles must maintain up-to-date titling and registration. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2022 alone, there were 738 traffic fatalities in Kentucky. That's slightly more than 2 deaths each day. And of those accidents, an overwhelmingly cause was operator error. Autonomous vehicles don't get drowsy, they don't text while driving, and they certainly don't drink and drive. Heck, they can't even break the speed limit. Now, I know for some of you the thought of a Jetson-style future may be a little unsettling, but what's important to remember is that the bill does not open the gates for fleets of these just to come in overnight. The technology is expensive, and a business still has to decide if AVs are part of its model. If they do, the provider of that technology would then invest in a depot or maintenance garage to house the cars, engineers, technicians, testers, etc. They've got to define their route and geofenced area. They've got to do all their own street mapping, perform millions of simulated miles on the computer, perform literally thousands of miles of real road testing. They've got to send that AV out with the human onboard safety driver to second-guess every decision that the machine makes until it's almost over-engineered. And that process will take a couple of years. It may take half a decade or longer. It won't happen all at once, but it can and will happen where it makes safety and economic sense. And it won't happen if we don't have some regulatory certainty before these big upfront investments in Kentucky are made. Let's have Kentucky join the 20 states, including West Virginia and Tennessee, that have adopted similar models of legislation, and over a dozen other states with this legislation on the books enabling AVs through the passage of House Bill 135. Mr. Speaker, will you please have the clerk report House Committee Substitute 1?
Mr. Clerk, please report.
House Committee Substitute 1 to House Bill 135.
Gentleman from Rockcastle.
House Committee Substitute 1, it did a few things. It satisfied some of the concerns of the trial attorney associations, the League of Cities. It put in the law enforcement interactive plan for state police. It bumped up the insurance coverage. And with that, I would move adoption of House Committee Substitute 1.
Clerk will take the roll. There being 92 members voting yea, the rules are suspended for the purpose of hearing House Floor Amendment 2. Gentleman from Rockcastle.
Mr. Speaker, would you have the clerk to please report House Floor Amendment 2?
Mr. Clerk, please report.
House Floor Amendment 2 to House Bill 135.
Gentleman from Rockcastle.
House Floor Amendment 2 was brought to our attention after consulting further with the Trial Attorneys Association. There were some questions asked about the liability concerns. It's pretty simple. It strikes from the committee sub and must comply solely. It strikes solely for the purpose of assessing compliance with. And at this time, I'd like to yield to the gentleman from Carter. Like the gentleman from Carter said, this satisfies the trial attorney's concerns with the issue. It satisfies the AV industry's concerns. I believe we've met a fair compromise. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I move that we adopt House Floor Amendment 2.
Question for the body is on adoption of House Floor Amendment 2. Is there any discussion? Chair recognizes the gentleman from McCracken 1.
Wait on the bill. We'll do the amendment first.
Question for the body is on adoption of House Floor Amendment 2. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. House Floor Amendment 2 is adopted. Gentleman from Rockcastle.
And with that, Mr. Speaker, I move for passage of House Bill 135 as amended by House Committee Substitute 1 and House Floor Amendment 2.